Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. So I've completed a paper called 50 Sayings That Help You See the Intense Truth, and the true ideas are important and not the wording. Actually, I have 53 points, and it's basically completed. So now, let me start with the first point, and let's discuss females and cultural barriers and idolatry, and why the world is damned, including the most innocent and fair-seeming peoples on the planet, right? You know, the future for people is empty. So what I mean by it's damned is anyone who doesn't obey God through me, right? Them and their offspring are going to go to hell. And if you obey God through me, you shouldn't have children no matter what. So the future of humanity, right, is damned, is cut off. So in regards to bettering oneself, wisdom is refined in the fire of moral precision. Or what good is it? Again, in regards to bettering oneself, wisdom is refined in the fire of moral precision. Or what good is it? Now, they probably made it so, my voice sounded corny, because they know that my arguments are superior. Okay, they go on stage like Flanders or Bart Simpson or Smithers or Mr. Burns, or they use a machine to try to seem more appealing than that, and that's corny as it gets. What good is it, right? What good is it? They weren't refined in the fire of moral precision. They're just a deceiver. And who likes being lied to and cheated out of the most attractive women, out of money? Who likes to be cheated out of things that they deserve? Maybe you don't deserve the most attractive female, but you all have been cheated to some degree, so on some level you resent them and you know their presentation is stupid, and my truths and my speeches are profound and deep. So really quickly, as we look at the nations of the world, right, they're guilty of idolatry. How do you summon the devil? You rebel against God, and you form your own culture. And as you do it, after a while, here comes the devil with his ships, his slave ships, his muskets, what have you, right? The spirit riding on a pale horse, so to speak. Here comes death, spiritual death, to kill what's left of you. After being trampled for a while, just like the Jews in the Old Testament were said to be trampled. God keeps punishing them and punish them. Isaiah 1, he says, how long will you keep rebelling? We keep taking away from you, we keep reducing your worth. And you're like, no, we're going to rebel. Okay, and it happened on a spectrum to all the peoples of the world. And before I continue, let me bring up a video I made recently. Very painful, right? The truth hurts. Scripture's a double-edged sword. There's going to be one group that the Messiah feels some type of way about the most when he explains that if they don't obey God through him, that they're going to hell, and that after his flesh dies, the world's damned, and with no way back, no way to obey God, and that no one should reproduce. In this case, it's the same group that Christ said was going to be the people that got, Christ is a character in the story, the people who got the kingdom of heaven, right? It said the kingdom of heaven was going to be taken away from the Jews who never really had it, if you read between the lines, and given to a people who perform its work. So here are these black people, they go to the Middle East and they start talking to the Jews, and the Jews say, hey, in their own way, right, figuratively and otherwise, right, symbolically, what have you, by their actions, a lot of them decide to play stupid and pretend that the Jews magically are chosen and so on and so forth, okay, and they say, hey, if you can really show us up and prove that you're worthy, but you will have the kingdom of heaven. That's how it works, right? It's not because they're black and you're Semitic, or you're a different type of black person who was expelled from Africa or whatever, right? It's because of righteousness. So the Bible is a whole story where the kind of brute, right, Baal, Set, the brutes are telling these people who accept the brute path, the senseless path, the beta path, the senseless beta and the senseless brute, right? Beast is betas and best A, right? Scrambled. So it's a beast, a brute beast is their best A, or a beta, right? They're like Nikola Tesla, or they're like Mike Tyson, or whatever. Okay, or someone from their culture. He'd kick your ass from my culture, fill in the blank. Instead of universal pinpointing moral precision, the top martial arts, the natural alpha of all of humanity. So they make a fool of themselves. I'm not trying to insult the Jewish people, shout out to the Jews, what have you, but they make a fool of themselves by saying, I'm chosen, and they deliver the message of what not to do. So God, who's called Ra in Egypt, okay, the sun symbolized God, rather, and in a sense, it's referring to God, and this kind of semantics, right? You know, God is God, right? Not just the sun or something, but the sun is a symbol of God, and it's also a symbol of Ra, who's God. But some people interpret it as Ra is referring to the sun, but it's not, so they kind of confuse it. But anyway, God has two main suns in the original version, or one of the oldest versions, which makes the most sense. And one is Christ, right? You know, it's like Cain and Abel. One is Christ and the righteous one, the God of justice, martial arts, warfare, what have you. The other is Set. He likes to pretend, right? He's breaking bricks, doing the splits, doing a bunch of flips. He likes to try to make it seem like he's superior and try to use technical skills, right? Tree of knowledge versus tree of life, right? He said, I know how to do this. I know how to do that. Well, did you know this? Did you know that it takes that many licks to get to the center of his Tootsie Pop? He likes to say this, and sometimes it's comical. Okay? And so both of them delivered a message. If you follow Set, part of the message you're going to see along the way is, why are we following this idiot? You know, what the hell, right? You know, this is stupid. And people say that all the time, all over the world. You know, they don't have the heart, the martial heart in marriage. God in marriage. Martial is marital scramble, the bridegroom. They know they don't have the heart to stand up to Set. So they belong to the devil, because in Proverbs 28:1 it says, the wicked flee, though no one pursue, but the righteous are as bold as lion. They spiritually flee. Their essence flees from the responsibility of being a man if they're male, or a woman if they're female. You see what I'm saying? And so the righteous guy delivers a message. You chose Set. So whether you're an Arab, or you're Chinese, or you're Native American, or you're an African, they all formed their own cultures. They didn't say, hey, there's one top martial artist of all of the human race. And so we say, that's not fair. We were far away. You weren't always far away. And now that I've come around, were you all quick to embrace me? No. And for those same cultures that you've cultivated like your ancestors, like it says in the Bible, pay them back for their sins and the sins of their ancestors. And that includes those who were right there, you know, in the Garden of Eden, right? Cain and Abel. There's a lot of white racist people who are very immature, who are like, no, talk about black people instead, because they're so far from masculinity, so far gone away from it. But nonetheless, as I had to go around to every group, including the most righteous by far, which is the one God chose to have their center king the whole time, really. And then through my father, and to bring in the last king ever, which is me. Now, is it racist to point this out? No. Is it wrong to point this out? No. Is it insulting? I suppose about as insulting as pointing out to a serial child molester and serial killer that what they're doing is wrong. Because if you could separate that from rebellion against God is worse. And who would say otherwise? Some drug addict, new age occultist? No, that's not how it is. You know how stupid you have to be to believe them and not the top martial arts ever? And on top of that, the logic is sound. My goodness. Who do you find reliable? Some unfocused worm who's never been persecuted for righteousness a moment in their life? I'm sure that's fucking respectable. I'm sure that's ideal. I'm sure that's equal and comparable. That's despicable. That cowardice is unbearably disgusting. Again, you see, I'm not insulting anyone in particular. I'm destroying the idea of cultures that reject moral precision, which is the reason the Son of God came, which is destroy the devil's work, which includes idolatry, which includes false narratives about God and what you should do. And notice all these people from different cultures. They didn't say, hey, he's wrong, and I'm going to debate you because I'm right. What are they going to say? Well, he's wrong, but the government's demands are more sacred than their culture? That's fucking retarded. So obviously the evidence has definitively proven me right. When you put one and one together, one and one and one and one and one, and you say, wow, that's a perfect truth. And so we see in regards to bettering oneself and one's culture and one's group and one's religion, one's organization, no matter what it is. Wisdom is refined in the fire of moral precision, or what good is it? And wisdom is proved right by deeds.